All right, we're coming back. Seriously, we are. Many of us fear death. Or maybe that's because we've made it such a mystery. Let's end that now. Dear Cecil, I need to know a few things about the way a person is buried. First, is the corpse completely dressed? Shoes, underwear, etc.? In the case of a man, is the penis altered in any way? Also, how would the corpse look and smell after 6 months or a year? And how difficult is it to open an exhumed casket? A pseudo-necrophiliac, Baltimore. Okay, that's a great question, but it seems like you're planning something. Put down the shovel.
A lot of people feel a wooden casket has a little warmer look to it. A lot of times we have carpenters that die, and those are caskets that are chosen for those type of people. In fact, we bury people with sometimes their hammer with them, believe it or not.
Really?
Things like that. Families will come in and say, this was something he always did. I've had a funeral service where we even had to leave a trombone. He was a trombonist.
If an autopsy has been performed, the mortician may be required to sew the body back together. But generally, he does not experiment with his client's components, including their privy members, if they have one. I would urge the viewers to repress their deviant fantasies in this area, or else.
I'm a good guy, and I'm going to heaven. You see these scars? I look like I'm afraid of death. I've been dead twice already. Cut with a straight razor. Ouch! Did 10 years in prison for killing the guy who did to me.
So you've seen a dead body,
Are you kidding me? You made me break my cigarette.
My father-in-law dropped dead in front of me one day.
My sister-in-law died a couple weeks ago.
Oh, no, I'm sorry to hear that.
I didn't like her.
This is a room where most people don't get to see. We do not allow, really, people to see an embalming process, and I don't think many funeral homes do. I think it's something that's professionally, we don't feel comfortable with anyone seeing an embalming, but we surely have no problem of you seeing the embalming room. The embalming takes place here. You can see a couple of different embalming tables here. The embalming table right here is the one that we use most often, and this is what we call an embalming machine, and it is mixed with fluid and water. And these are different types of fluids that we use for the embalming process. We place it and mix it with water in this machine.
I've died before.
Have you?
Yes. Nice experience.
He was their hero, and they mourned him. He had lived a life of thrills and confusion. He had known the peaks of glory and the valleys of despair.
I was just curious, what are the differences in these chemicals and what do they do? What does each chemical do?
Well, the difference is really in the strength of fluids. When a person is what we call a Demas type person, where we have a lot of water that's built up in a person, we have different fluids that we can dry that out with to bring the swollenness down. And of course, there's other fluids that have to bring people up when people have died and lose a lot of weight. There's fluids that we can use to help fill that tissue. So an embalming process is removing the fluids from the body, which could splash, so you're protecting yourself with this outfit on.
It is possible to preserve a corpse for extended periods, as in the case of a medical cadaver, but this requires a strong solution of embalming fluid, which results in a leathery, decidedly unlifelike appearance.
You would already have your fluids mixed before you do this. You've already washed and cleansed the body, basically, physically. You've already closed the mouth and closed the eyes. Basically,
How do you do that?
just by doing this. That's it. That's easy.
Under the most favorable circumstances, a body after 6 months in the grave would simply be discolored and possibly covered with mold. If the body has had the misfortune to have been sealed in an airtight metal casket, though, anaerobic bacteria, that is, those that thrive in an airless environment, will have had a chance to get to work, and the body will have putrefied, meaning it will be partially liquefied. The smell in such cases is indescribable.
Back to decomposition. First of all, it's a funeral director at embalmer's nightmare because of the smell. There's nothing worse than a body decomposing. That's where most people are found because they smell something in the trunk, you know. And that just gives me another thought. When a person drowns in a cold lake, they go down to the bottom and usually remain there. But as we all know, sooner or later, when the warm weather comes, somebody finds that person on the beach because it has gotten gassed up and it has gotten buoyancy, and then we call it a floater. A floater is a decomposition body that's been in the water for quite a while.
Simple wooden caskets, believe it or not, often result in more gradual decomposition. Getting into a wooden casket, which rots readily, is no big deal. But the situation is different with one of those impregnable metal sarcophagi that most people seem to be buried in nowadays. There you may have an inner liner that's bolted shut, an outer liner sealed with cement, and the whole thing placed inside a massive concrete burial vault. Getting all this open ain't easy.
We have over here what we call a metal sealed inner casket, and we just have it sitting here just in case. In fact, we even have screws here, and inside there's a rubber gasket that we tighten down to keep that basic smell from exposing itself to our funeral home and the people that are going to be around.
I feel obliged to point out that the robbing of graves is generally regarded as a form of criminal trespass and is punishable by fine and/or imprisonment, in case anybody's tempted into it by the appetizing details we just talked about.
If there is a heaven, yeah, you know, I hope I go there, but I don't know.
Actually, I'm going to keep this with me so that when I go to the bars and I meet women, now I feel like I'm prepared for today's problems, if you know what I mean.
People like yourself or like myself or the people that are around us today looking as healthy as can be dead tomorrow. You leave here, you're on the Dan Ryan going back to wherever, boom, it's over.
Well, we're done, but you're not leaving here empty-headed. Now go out and share this new knowledge with some friends, but don't be a bore. I'm Mike Lucas. See you next week.
Is there something you need to get straight? For fast temporary relief of ignorance, send email to Cecil at shyreader.com or visit him on America Online. Send snail mail care of the Chicago Reader or consult the collected works, available at enlightened bookstores everywhere.
Boy, have we got a deal for you. Tomorrow night, A&D uncovers the ins and outs of business, Las Vegas style, on the special presentation at 9 Eastern, 10 Pacific. Now, how do they get the tiny M's on those M&M candies? A&E's comedy, The Staight Dope, answers all your burning questions next on A&E.